Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go through some power tools here. I did a video a couple weeks ago regarding the Milwaukee brand and kind of went through the full lineup, at least of the I own of the M18 and also the M12 line right there. But it was a mix of brushed and brushless, a bunch of different price points, stuff like that. And then basically kind of the conclusion of the video was the more you spend, you just get a little bit of time back basically, where something that would take 6 or 7 seconds or longer with a cheaper tool would take about 2 or 3 seconds with a more expensive tool, and that was kind of the result of the video itself. But that was all within one brand, Milwaukee. So kind of what got me started in thinking of doing this particular video was Dana Tools recently did a video on Walmart and Hart Tools in particular, and was basically talking about how Hart, is made by TTI, who makes brands like, Ryobi, Rigid, Milwaukee as well, things like that. But, their lower end stuff like Ryobi is dedicated just to Home Depot. So they came out with the Hart brand that they could sell at Walmart. And, we thought that was going to be kind of a great line. It's going to have a ton of tools, but there hasn't been a lot of innovation, in that line. And basically what his conclusion was, hey, you know what, maybe we should start looking at Hyper Tough instead. And that video kind of hit me, hard, because I had just seen the Torque Test channel has done a couple of videos on Hyper Tough, specifically their impact wrenches, and then they just recently did one on their hydraulic impact driver, which intrigued me because I had been looking at the hydraulic impact drivers specifically for Milwaukee, like the Surge basically. And but those things are super expensive. It's usually a couple $100 for just the tool by itself, versus what I'm kind of paying for a lot of the tools that you see here in front of me. So got me thinking. So I did a little bit more research. I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on just the regular Hyper Tough at the moment, and then also this Greenworks company right here. I've seen Greenworks before, but basically it's been mostly outdoor stuff that I've known them for, things like leaf blowers and weed whackers, etc. In their 24 volt line, they also have like the much larger things like lawn mowers and etc. But they happened to be at a trade show that I was at a couple of weeks ago, and I went by their booth and was talking to them for a little bit, and they showed me their new line of power tools, especially kind of for the home gamer. And they said kind of specifically their goal is to kind of take away from Ryobi and Rigid was kind of their market. So really the DIYer, the prosumer, stuff like that. Maybe not necessarily the professional. So again, this video is going to be kind of dedicated more to those people of, again, DIYer and prosumer. If you're a professional, which I use a lot of the stuff for business. I use the M18 line personally, for my business, and at home normally I go to the M12 line. Unless I need a little bit more power, then I'll bust something else out. So having said all of that, I wanted to kind of show, a bunch of different companies. All of these are going to be their brushless models. All of them are going to be relatively recent models, I would say, within the last year or so, with the exception of this Craftsman I got maybe like 3 years ago. So this is an older model, so it might not be indicative of what their newest thing will do. But I just wanted to kind of put all this out there for comparison. And basically what you're kind of looking at is when you're starting, over here with this Milwaukee M18, it's probably going to be around $100, maybe a little bit more for the tool itself for a regular price. But sometimes it can be had for about $200 with a full kit with the drill as well. Craftsman is going to be a little bit less, maybe about 125, 150. Sometimes it does go on sale for 100 with, again, both the drill and driver. Same thing with the Greenworks, right? Well, Greenworks right now is on sale for $100 on Amazon, but the price definitely fluctuates quite a bit. But again, you're looking for, if the tool alone itself probably is about 40 or $50. Same thing with the Hyper Tough, and then the Milwaukee Fuel is around $100 or so for the tool itself. But this one is not really kind of fair because this is on the 12 volt platform, where everything else is going to be either 18, 20, or 24 volts on here. So the purpose of this video, again, is to kind of just show you that you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money in order to get pretty good performance, and I want to kind of show that. Now, one thing that this does not factor in is things like longevity, warranties, etc. You know, one of the reasons I use Milwaukee for business is because I know most of their stuff comes with a 5-year warranty. And if something happens, like I actually just burnt out a motor on one of my brush tools on Milwaukee. I sent it in, it's getting repaired as we speak. No hassle, they sent me a label. You know, I shipped it off to them. Within a couple of days, I saw that it was being repaired, and my guess is I'm going to get it back, you know, next week or so. So, and luckily, as you guys see here, I have, you know, a bunch of spares that I can use if I need them. So, you know, enough of me kind of talking here. I want to go in and kind of show you guys the performance, and we can kind of go from here. Today, I'm going to focus just on the impacts right here. But if you want me to go, if you can kind of see laying down behind them are all the drill versions of them as well. So if you guys want me to do a video on that, you know, let me know. I just don't want this video to go too long by doing, you know, 2 sets of power tools. Just want to kind of go through all of these right here. And then just so you guys know, this little rig right here, if you saw my last video, it's just a 4x4 mounted down, and then a bunch of 3.5-inch screws. Every screw in here is in a brand fresh hole. All the old holes you see were for other tests and things like that to make things as fair as possible. I'm going to go around right now so we can start the testing. And just to make everything as fair as possible, everything from here to here, these 4 at least, are all going to be 2 amp hour batteries. They're all going to be fully charged, and just so to make things as fair as possible. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with kind of the most expensive, and then go to the cheapest one, and then I'll drop down to the 12-volt line just so you guys can see kind of a real-life difference. And there's one bonus tool that I want to do as well. Again, all these are going to be brushless impact drivers. So let's go for it. So this is the M18. There we go. If I have to guess, that's probably about 2.5-3 seconds, at least based off of my testing from before. So it's definitely very, very quick, but the other thing about it is not only is it quick, it is super, super small compared to the rest of them. Very light, makes it easy to kind of carry around all day. Next up, again, is going to be the Craftsman 2 amp hour battery, and fully charged right there. Let's go for this one. So that one definitely felt like it was a bit longer. My guess is it would be around 5 or 6 seconds. Again, we can kind of see the speed if we were just to look at the timer on the bottom of your video. I apologize, I don't have a timer to see here in front of me. Next up is going to be Greenworks. Again, 2 amp. This is a 24-volt battery. Let's see, where is it? There it is, fully charged right there if you guys can see. And again, this is definitely an interesting one. So let's kind of go from here. And let's go. So that one to me felt very, very similar to the M18 line at a fraction of the price, which I think is pretty awesome. Granted, again, like I said with the Craftsman, size difference is quite a bit. So, I mean, if you're just a home gamer using this every once in a while, you're still going to get the speed that you want with this. It's just not going to be quite as light to carry around, and that's why I use this for work, because, we're carrying these things around all day. Next up is the Hyper Tough from Walmart. Again, 2 amp hour battery. Let's see if I can press this here. Fully charged, as you guys can see right there. And let's go for this one. So that one, when I was first kind of playing around with this one, actually really, really surprised me, because it honestly feels like it's very similar to these ones right here. And like I said, this thing, I mean, sometimes you can find this thing for like $40 as a kit on sale, which I think is absolutely nuts. Again, I can't speak to the longevity of it, but speed compared even to an M18 is pretty awesome. Now, I know some of you guys are going to say, well, this is the M18 compact brushless. If I had the M18 fuel, etc., things like that, that I could probably do this in a second or two versus 3 seconds. But we're talking about a significantly more expensive tool. And again, since this is kind of dedicated towards more of the home gamers, I'm trying to keep the cost down. Next up, again, this is kind of more of a professional tool, the M12 Fuel. This is the choice, I think, of a lot of automotive technicians, because they're relatively small and powerful. But let's do this right over here. Now this one is different. I kind of gave it a little bit of an advantage. It's an M12. This is a 4 amp hour battery, and as you can see, it's fully charged as well. And let's go for this. So, roughly the same as my guess. Let me do actually one more here. know, it's not bad. If I had to guess, it's maybe a little bit slower than this guy right here. But this one, I mean, for for a 12 volt versus an 18 volt, the compact brushless for me is still kind of my preference, because I mean that's significantly smaller. I also have the M12 subcompact, but that thing is much slower than the rest of these guys. I mean, it is nice to use just because it's so small. Actually, let me see if I can grab it if I have it. All right, sorry about that, guys. So I got the compact brushless here. It took me a second to find it. Oh, I'm sorry, not the subcompact M12. So as you can see, it is much smaller than this guy right here, but it's honestly not that much smaller than the M18. Just a tiny bit, but the performance on this, I mean, like I said, this one takes about 2 to 3 seconds for this particular type of screw. Something like this, when I tested out, was maybe closer to like 6 or 7 seconds. If you guys are interested here, let me just kind of do it real quick, and that way you guys can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, it is a nice tool to use, especially kind of around the house and stuff, just because it is so small and light. So let me kind of just pop this in so you can see what I'm saying. Here we go. There we go. So the slowest of the bunch, as you guys kind of saw, but again, very small, and if you pop it on your belt or whatever, it's definitely much easier to use than a lot of other drills. So going through all of these guys right here, with the exception of the Craftsman, I mean, honestly, the performance on these three is roughly the same. We're talking about 2 to 3 seconds to get the screw in all the way, which I thought was, again, pretty surprising considering the price difference and the fact that, again, we're talking about a tool you can go buy at Walmart for, $35-40 or so. Now, I did mention that we have kind of an honorable mention as well, and that's going to be this guy right here. So actually, I just picked this one up. This is going to be the hydraulic impact driver. So this is kind of their equivalent to the M18 Surge. However, it's more equivalent to the M18 Surge, the first generation, not the one that just came out. Torque Test Channel just did a video on this guy, and this thing performed. You know what? I'm sorry, I have the wrong one in front of me. That's the drill. I apologize. This is the Surge. The Surge equivalent, the Hyper Tough Hydraulic Impact. So ignore that previous one. That's just the drill version that came with this guy. But Torque Test Channel just did a video with this compared to the Milwaukee, to the DeWalt, things like that. And this thing kept up right along with the Surge Gen 1. Definitely the Gen 2 did beat it, but for the price that you're paying, this thing was $64 for the full kit. Came with a 2 amp hour battery, came with a charger, and getting something like that for the same rough performance of a Milwaukee Surge, I think is pretty crazy. And now this is a hydraulic impact, and if you guys don't know, the main difference of a hydraulic impact versus a regular one is there's fluid in here that basically is going to dampen the sound that you have on a normal impact. So you guys probably heard how loud these guys are. I'll do kind of a comparison just so you guys can hear that as well. But let's put this guy in real quick, and you guys can see something that's really surprised the hell out of me. Excuse my language. Again, 2 amp hour battery, fully charged. Here we go. I mean, my fault. I stopped a little too. But let's do another one just so you guys can kind of see. But you know what? Let me start over here to make things easier. Here, let's go. So I mean, this thing is super quiet. It's very fast. I mean, it's probably, again, equivalent of something like this, where the hydraulic ones are kind of known to not be as powerful. But you guys just heard that one, and let's go kind of to a more traditional impact, and you guys can hear the difference. So here we go. And maybe I'll do this one more time so you can hear it. There we go. That's a traditional impact. So I mean, a significant difference, if you guys can see. So, my conclusion basically as of this video is, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't have to spend Milwaukee money necessarily to get a solid tool that's going to perform the job very quickly. I mean, these two guys, like I said, that are probably going to be somewhere in the range of about, you know, if tool only, if you were to take away the batteries and the chargers, I mean, they're probably sub $50 a piece, maybe even less than that. And they're getting the job done with no issues. And then we got this guy right here, the non-hydraulic version. That's probably going to be around 30 bucks or so. I've actually seen this thing on sale on clearance for like $20-25 before. I think that was for the Gen 1. But, you know, just wanted to do this video just to kind of, again, show you guys that you don't have to spend a ton of money on a tool to get the job done. And a lot of these companies are starting to step up, and, you know, whether you're spending, you know, 30, 40 bucks on a tool or over 100 or so, you're going to get a very, very similar performance across the board. Now, I can't say that about every single tool brand, but these are the ones I've tested out and I have here. I would have added Ryobi into the mix, since I know that this guy is really kind of designed to go against Ryobi. These two at least are. I just don't have a brushless impact from Ryobi, and I didn't think it would be fair to put a brushless, a brush tool versus a couple of brushed ones. So, you know, tell me, you know, what do you guys think? Would you guys be seeing, you know, would you be caught dead with a, you know, Hyper Tough, you know, on the job? You know, a lot of people say, hey, go with Hyper Tough. At least you know no one's going to steal it when you're out there on the job. But honestly, especially that hydraulic one, it really, really surprised me, especially for the price that you're paying. I'll try to find links for everything and put them in the description. Hyper Tough obviously is just going to be found at Walmart. Greenworks is going to be in Amazon. Craftsman usually is going to be Lowe's, and Milwaukee is obviously Home Depot or online. So this is, you know, my kind of conclusion. If you guys have experience with any of these tools, if you guys have opinions about, you know, what I'm saying here, you know, please leave it in the comments down below. Let's have a conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.